Hey folks, we're back. I want to start tonight's talk with a little bit of history. I'm a history buff, if you will. I love history. The one consistent thing about history that we find repeated throughout history is simple, that history always has a way of repeating itself. Many countries have risen and fallen many times throughout the years, the centuries. History just will always repeat itself. So we should learn from history. And the little bit of history I want to start you off with tonight is a very famous statement made by President Franklin. It's recorded in the halls of justice. The statement is very simple. The statement is, most men die at 25, but are not buried until they're 75. And most of you hear that statement and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. This guy was a leader of one of the greatest nations in the world, and he sounds like he's lost his ever-loving mind. Most men die at 25, but are not buried until they're 75. Let that sink in. Stop and actually let those words sink in. Take judgment out of it. Take the silly thoughts out of it. Again, most men die at 25, but are not buried until they're 75. That statement was coined in excess of over 200 plus years ago. 200 plus years ago. And yet the world was still in a position where Franklin looked at it. You know, when Obamacare was first introduced, one of the shining stars of Obamacare was parents could keep their children on their insurance till they're 26, right? Because most kids get out of high school and they go to college and they're about 25 when they finally graduate. And they wanted kids to be able to maintain coverage without being put under further ado stress. Just like back in Jefferson's day, right? Or Franklin's day, I'm sorry. What did his statement mean? A very shrewd, but yet very accurate statement. Most men die at 25, but are not buried until they're 75. Even 200 plus years ago, men would finish school, they would get into the real world, and they would fail. There was this misconception that a well-educated man could go out there and he could do pretty much anything he wanted. The problem was, children were so spoiled back then because the ones that were able to go to school, that were able to go to college and get that further education, were so spoiled that getting the education made no difference. They still looked to mom and dad for everything they wanted. Same thing holds true for today. Today's subject is about kids born from 1990 until present. And just like with last night's video, this does not mean every kid born from 1990 to this day, okay? There are exceptions to every rule on the planet. There are always exceptions. Today's kids hold one of the most powerful tools that has ever been known to man in their hand every day. This tool is a cell phone. With a cell phone today, you basically have a handheld computer that you can go anywhere you want to and pretty much find out and do anything you want on a cell phone that years ago you had to have a laptop in order to do these things. I'm filming these videos on the i10s Max. I love the phone. It'll do things my laptop won't do. And I have a $2,000 touchscreen laptop. What is the problem with children born from the 90s until today? They are the most spoiled, rotten, privileged, ungrateful generation of kids that has ever existed in the United States of America. You see, mom and dad will buy these kids their first car. Mom and dad will put them on their insurance. Mom and dad will give them gas money. And they still gripe because of the car that they got. It wasn't the exact car that they wanted. So therefore, it wasn't good enough, right? So I'm going to complain about it. These are the same kids that every day on Facebook and other social media websites share posts of the old couple that lived together for 65 years, you know, and they always put that caption on there, this is what I'm looking for, right? This is what I'm looking for. But unfortunately, because of the ability to have access like never before to social media, to the internet, and to each other. When I was a kid, you had a phone that was connected to a wall, and you could only walk so far with it, and that's it. So you were forced to have conversations in front of mom and dad, right? You couldn't go behind mom and dad's back and have a secret conversation unless they just weren't in the house. Because if they were in the house, they were close. They were going to hear every word of every conversation you ever had. When I was a little boy and I dated girls in school, when I wanted to cheat on the girl I was with, I would walk by and throw a note on her desk as I walked by from sharpening my pencil. Those days are far behind us. In today's society, you have kids who are 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, 15-year-olds, and 16-year-olds that are sending inappropriate pictures to one another. And they're doing it right under their parents' nose. You know, oh, little Susie, she went to bed at 8 o'clock tonight. She don't even have to go to bed until 9. She said she has a test tomorrow. And guess what? Mom and dad believe that. Right? Because we all want to believe what's best out of our children. Don't lie to yourself. Know what your kids are doing at all times. At all times. You're sitting on the couch with your husband, talking to your husband, and your child's in her room sending tit pics to a boy in the 10th grade. And then when your daughter's 16 and winds up pregnant, you ask yourself why? What went wrong? We went to church every Sunday. We went to church every Wednesday. This is morally and completely wrong from everything I taught my daughter to believe. Judge Judith Sheindlin coined a phrase that I love very, very, very much. She's a highly intelligent woman. I love her. And that statement is, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. Parents, open your eyes. We all want to spoil our children. We all want to give our children the very best technology that money can buy, right? We don't want our child to have a Samsung Galaxy Note 3 when the 10's out. A lot of parents make it a competition. And we're putting this poison in our children's hands. And we're doing it unadulterated, without monitoring them, without knowing what's going on. And the repercussions of this for all 90 babies, all the way to current day, the repercussions are very serious. When I was a kid, the only way you saw pornographic material is if you just happened to come across your dad's Hustler magazine, which he had a good way of hiding constantly because he knew you were looking, right? Today, a parent walks through the door and for birthday, for Christmas, or whatever, hands their son or their daughter a cell phone with unlimited everything on it and walk away. And walk away. And all of us have looked at porn, right? I mean, when we're kids, you know, you come across it. Of course you're going to look. But not everybody reacts the same to the same stuff. There are a lot of kids today who are 16 and 17 years old and are completely addicted to porn. Addicted to porn. porn in the right way can be very healthy for a person. You can't deny it. But just like anything else, anything in excess can become a major problem. Going back to what I said a few minutes ago. It's always the 90s babies and on down, right? That reshare those posts about the people that were married for 50 and 60 years. Oh, wow, that's the kind of relationship I want. That's what I'm looking for. But yet at the same time, you could put a boyfriend on one end of the couch, a girlfriend on the other end of the couch. And 80% of the time, because they're unmonitored, they're unwatched, they're allowed to view porn whenever they want, they're allowed to say what they want when they want. Man, you kids would not have survived 5 minutes with my mom. My mom would have went to jail for real if you talk to her the way you talk to your mom and dads these days. They sit on opposite ends of the couch. And they have lied to themselves. This whole generation has lied to themselves and convinced themselves that, oh, I'm not cheating if I'm not physically touching the other person, right? Wrong. If you are looking to other people and you're talking in sexual ways to other people when you're in a committed relationship, you're cheating. What the cell phone has done and is doing and will continue to do is destroy the very fabric of America. If you're looking at and talking to someone else online while you're in a relationship to someone, whether you touch or not, newsflash, you are cheating. And when you cheat in that nature, in that form, just like with a physical cheating, you're telling your significant other that they're not good enough, that you have to look outside of what you have in order to find satisfaction. This goes for males and females both. Parents, you're lying to yourself. If you sit there on your couch while your kid goes to their bedroom and they sit on their phone, you're lying to yourself when you say, I raised my kids right. They will not fall victim to such idiocy. They will. And it has destroyed the youth of America born in 1990 to present. It has simply destroyed them. They have no sense of commitment, no sense of what real love is. And every day that they get older, they're more and more and more damaged from the junk that they're putting in their head. Kids born in the 1990 and down, they don't even know what love is anymore. Something happened in America that changed all that. We went from parents raising children to televisions raising children. Children are raised by TV programs. The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, right? You know? Hannah Montana. That's what's raising your children today. Television. Because mom has to work, dad has to work. And what the television isn't teaching them, the cell phone is teaching them. And I can promise you, an hour with a cell phone is going to always teach your child more than 5 minutes with you. But the consequences of this is simple. Most men die at 25, but are not buried until they're 75. What did it mean? In the time frame your child should come out of college and start his or her life on their own, a little piece of them dies, right? What is this little piece of them that dies? Well, it's simple, right? I got the education. I'm going to go out here in the world, and it's going to be just like the sweet life of Zach and Cody. It's going to be just like Hannah Montana. Everything's going to be given to me on a silver platter. I don't have to struggle. I don't have to strive for anything. It's there. I don't have to try in my relationships. All I got to do is have good sex, right? Because that's what porn has put into their head. The garbage that you're allowing your children to put in their head is what is destroying the very fabric of America. It's not gays. It's not lesbians. It's the trash that you're allowing your child to put in their head. And it started in the 90s and it has not stopped now. You could see 3-year-olds come into my business where I work with their own i10s Max cell phones. Their own. At 3 years old. That child stands not one chance in life. Not one chance in life. Because that's the new mom. That's the new dad. Kids from the 90s are the most ungrateful kids that live on the planet. And I mean, trust me, there are exceptions. Shout out to a couple. Dakota Gilbert works his ass off every day. Married a great woman and having a great life as a 20-some-odd-year-old young man. Shout out to you, brother. James Laborde, same thing. Works his ass off in the oil field every day. Just bought his girl a brand new car. 21, 22. Way to go, brother. Take care of business. But then you got other 21, 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds that are just as lost today as they were when they were 3 years old and mom and dad lost them at the grocery store and they were wandering up and down every aisle trying to figure out where the hell mom and dad was. And mom and dad will blame everything in the world. Oh, it's that friend down the road that's a bad influence on little Bobby. Or it's that girl at school that keeps making fun of little Susie. No, that's not the problem. That's not the breakdown. The breakdown is your parenting skills. You are depending on a monster called a cell phone to raise your children. Oh, but my kid's got to have a cell phone. That way I can call them whenever I need to, and I don't have to worry about where they are and if they're out a little later than they thought. Those are all good things. But unfortunately, that's everything to most kids. A cell phone. When's the last time you sit down at a dinner table with your kids and made them put their cell phones away and have real talk with you? How was your day at school? How was your day at work? How was your day, period? The truth of the matter is, most parents don't even put their own cell phones down at the dinner table. That's what's wrong with America. That's what's wrong with people. That's what's wrong with kids. That's what's wrong with families. We've lost touch with human touch. We want the same benefits that grandma and grandpa had, a 50 and 60 year relationship, but we keep stabbing ourselves in the back. We keep shooting ourselves in the foot, doing the total opposite of what they did. And the people that are paying the price are the kids born since 1990. They don't have any understanding of what real love is. They have no clue. They have absolutely no clue what love is. Love is, what can I buy for you? What can you buy for me? They have no idea what commitment is. They have no idea what it means to commit to one person, to love one person, and be there for that person. Because the cell phone has made it so easy to be there for 15 or 16 different people while pretending to be there for one. Again, not all, but a very big majority of kids born since 1990 are completely clueless and are completely destroying the fabric of America. Because everything and anything other than mom and dad are raising them. And then we wonder why. They go from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship from this drug to that drug to the alcohol to this to that. Why they sit at home and play video games all day long and don't want to get a job. Why they're ungrateful for the car that they have instead of just being thankful that they have a car, period, that mom and dad couldn't possibly afford to buy them. A man dies at 25, but it's not buried until he's 75. When a man comes out of school and he gets into the real world, he quickly finds out life is not. It is not what he thought it would be. All little boys are brought up dreaming about that perfect life. Find a woman, get married, settle down. Beautiful white house with a little white picket fence around it. A couple of cars sitting in the driveway. And little girls are taught that perfect guy is going to come along, that Prince Charming. He's going to change your life forever. And you're going to have that same white house with the same white picket fence, with the same 2 cars in the driveway, with the same 3 beautiful kids running around. But no one's prepared you for what it takes to get there. You work a 25, 30-hour-a-week job for $7.50 an hour, and you think you're supposed to live in a $500,000 home and have a Mercedes in the driveway. A couple of 4-wheelers in the garage. Newsflash, buddy. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. Unless you get off your ass and make it happen. No one on this planet is limited to anything. No one is limited to anything. I dropped out of school in the 8th grade and I make more money than most people with a college degree. Not because someone handed it to me. It's because I got off my ass and I worked for what I wanted. I wasn't satisfied with where I was at. I wanted better for me and the people that I love. And I push myself hard every day to try to be better every day than what I was the day before. At 16 years old, I moved back to the 3rd largest city in the United States of America, Houston, Texas, with a car that I got a job for and bought from my dad for $300. I had $305. I went to the Phoenix station. Gas was 59 cents a gallon. I put $5 worth of gas in that truck and drove to Houston. And believe me when I say I went through some hard times. Believe me when I say I went through some hard times. It wasn't easy. I found myself in almost life and death situations on several occasions. I found myself homeless for 1.5 years. I found myself in an abusive relationship where I thought I was going to die on several occasions at the hand of a police officer. Years later in life, at 30, I was living in Galveston, Texas, living the dream life. Lived right on the beach, had a condo right on the beach. I could throw a rock from my bedroom window and make it hit the water. I wanted a change. Instead of being a little punk that has no idea what life's all about, that's scared, I had $300 to my name. $300 cash. I didn't even wait for my next paycheck. I said, screw it, let's go. I loaded my partner and his brother up in my vehicle and straight to Denver we headed with $300. I spent $50 on fuel and about $25 on food to get there. When I got there, I paid $150 for a motel room. Unloaded my van. I told my partner, Michael, I said, hey, I'm going to go get a job. I'll be back in a few minutes. I was back in an hour. Landed a management job. In 2 weeks, I was sitting in a high-rise apartment in downtown Denver. Not because someone gave it to me, but because us babies born from the 70s and 80s, we were taught, if you want something, go after it. Push yourself. No matter what it takes, never let a man put his foot on your head and tell you you can't do something. And because mom and dad doesn't talk to their children anymore, the cell phone does all the talking, right? The TV does all the talking, right? Kids today are scared. The wussification of America. Open your eyes, parents. The school system in the United States of America today is at its lowest rating in the history of recorded educational records. We are intentionally dumbing our kids down. When I went to school, it was a requirement to write in cursive. You learned how in the 4th grade. Today's kids they're not even made to write in cursive anymore. How can you grow up and be an 18-year-old, sign a legal contract that says, I promise that I'm going to pay this car note, when it says print your name here and sign your name here? How embarrassing it must be for that young man or that young girl to look at the automobile dealership worker and say, I'm sorry, I can't write in cursive. I'll have to print both papers. And you wonder what's wrong with our children? You wonder what's wrong with our children? We have allowed everything and anything other than mom and dad to come in our children's life and raise them. We've allowed anything and everything to come in our children's life and raise them. And then we wonder what in the hell is wrong with kids. We wonder why we have 17-year-olds walking around that are already a parent of 2 children with no daddy anywhere in the picture. We wonder why our sons have a different girlfriend every month and no serious commitments. You need wonder no more. You needn't wonder no more. Just like yesterday's video about women, look at the fathers of the men that you're interested in. Remember, there's always exceptions to the rule. But those exceptions are few and far between. Pornography has destroyed more homes, more families, more relationships than drugs and alcohol-related deaths combined. The addiction to porn in the world is one of the hardest addictions in the world to get rid of. And it affects more people than you will ever know. People that you see on an every single day basis of your life. You don't realize what porn does to a young mind that is still in its development stages. Guys are taught by porn not to appreciate women, but to use women for their body. And vice versa. And we wonder what's wrong with the children of today. We wonder why America is going to hell in a handbag. We wonder why the average marriage in the United States of America today only lasts 3 years. The average marriage in the United States of America lasts 3 years today. 3 years. The days of 20, 30, 40, 50, they're gone. They're history. They're few and far between at best. According to the Centers for Disease Control, the largest segment of the population of the United States of America who is now contracting and spreading the HIV virus is the age population of 16 to 26 years old. Bet you didn't know that. 16 to 26-year-olds are the fastest growing population with AIDS in the United States of America. Do you know that in Richland Parish alone, a population of 10,000 people, there are an estimated 1,300 to 1,500 full-blown cases known of AIDS? In Richland Parish alone, Louisiana has some of the highest AIDS rates in the nation. Coincidentally, it's also the lowest educational state in the nation. Parents, wake up. Stop giving your kids excuses. If your kid doesn't have a job, kick them in the ass and make them get up and get a job. If your kid doesn't have the things in life that they need, stop babying them and giving it to them and make them get off their asses and earn it. The only thing you're doing is enabling your child to continue to be a loser, a quitter, someone who will not succeed in life. Stop it. Make that child, him or her, either one, get up and work for what they want. Teach them that we're not going to just hand it to you anymore. Stop allowing your children to walk around dressed like whores between the ages of 12 and 18. And then asking yourself, well, why is my child pregnant? Oh, well, it's the style for today. It's okay. Well, back when I was a kid, if a girl walked out of the house with her ass cheeks hanging out, she got her ass kicked. She snuck out of the house and put that shit on. You forget that, huh? Today's parents are friends to their children. They are not parents, and it shows so desperately. And you have kids from all walks of life, both rich, poor, black, white, it doesn't matter, that are longing for nothing else more than for parents that care, that will open their mouth and put them back on the right track, because these kids aren't stupid. They know what they're doing is wrong. They're just wondering why mom and dad aren't saying anything. They're wondering why mom and dad are sitting there keeping their mouth shut. Well, it must be okay. Mom and dad, it's not okay. It's not okay to keep your mouth shut anymore. It's not okay anymore to, oh, poor little Johnny. He had such a hard life. His dad walked out when he was only 6 and never really had a man in his life. And, you know, I kind of treat him with a soft hand because he's already had such a hard life. Screw that soft hand. Your soft hand has created a failure. Your soft hand has created a child that's going to spend the rest of his life struggling to survive, scared to make a decision, and running from anything of significance in his or her life. Everybody's had a hard life. Everybody. We always want to look at the person that's rich, right? The person lives in a big house. And everybody always wants to make that comment to that person or about that person. Oh, you don't know what it's like to struggle. Yeah, everything you got handed to you. Very rarely is that actually the case. You know the difference between the guy that lives in the big house and the guy that lives in the trailer with no door on the front of it? Parents who spoke up. Parents who did not let go of their moral obligations. Parents that did not let a cell phone and a television raise their children. That's the difference. That's the difference. Yeah, they may have had a lot of stuff handed to them, but it's their responsibility to keep it and maintain it. And they do that because their parents cared enough that their parents actually sat down with them and talked. Their parents actually sit down with them and raised them. So they know the value of that dollar. They know what it's going to take to keep that dollar. And when they're moving under the cover of plain sight, they're doing what it takes to keep that dollar. You take a poor kid from a poor family that struggles, and mom and dad will buy that kid a car. And because of all the other aspects not being there, that kid will be the most ungrateful kid on the freaking planet. And you take a rich family that'll buy their kid a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz, and those kids will absolutely appreciate that car, but yet society has that completely bass-backwards. Completely bass-backwards. See, because the kid that got the 1972 Pinto, oh, my parents could have done better than this shit. Can't wait to go pick their friends up and just drive the hell out of it, right? Because of the moral upbringing. Because of the lack of parenting. The one that you think takes everything for granted, their parents are teaching them every 3,000 miles that oil needs to be changed. Oh yeah, you're going to pay someone to do it. You're not going to get your hands dirty and do it. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's this misconception that they don't appreciate that. But they do. And that's why when they grow up, they're going to live in a big house of their own. They're going to have a Mercedes of their own. They're going to have a BMW of their own. Because mom and dad has not only given them, but mom and dad has also taught them. Doesn't matter how poor you are, how rich you are. Everybody's coffin's going to be the same size, and you're going in the same damn hole, a 2x6. That's a fact. It doesn't matter whether you have a church funeral. It doesn't matter whether you're cremated or what. What matters at the end of the day when you leave this world is what? Your legacy. What do you leave behind? When people remember you, what are they going to remember? Because that's important to you parents, right? It's important that people know you were a good parent. You were a good person. That you left your kids maybe a little bit of money to spend. That you didn't leave them with a burden. You left them with an insurance policy to at least bury you. But something happened. There's a disconnect with 90s babies. Where the parents worried about that, but they disconnected. And they didn't instill the same thing in their kids. And it shows. 90s babies to today. Not all, definitely not all. I know some great kids, let me tell you, are completely out of touch with reality. The only thing that they're in touch with is a cell phone, a video game, and an ungrateful heart and an ungrateful spirit. No matter what you give them, it's never good enough. They sit and they talk a game. They talk a game of a nice house, a nice car, a nice career, a nice this, a nice that. But they don't have the gumption to get up off their asses and earn it. They want someone to hand it to them. But there's always an excuse, right? Well, my parents didn't send me to college, so I'm doing the best I can do. Well, get off your ass and earn extra money and pay for your own college. Ever think about that? Of course not. Because the easy road's always the easiest way to go, right? Take the easy way out. Blame everybody else except for the person that deserves the blame. Something happened to kids from the 1970s and 80s that changed us. It made us go-getters. It made us believers. That we could do anything in this world that we wanted to do. All we had to do was want it bad enough. And we're still fighting and succeeding today. Against every odd that was stacked against us, we're still fighting and succeeding today. I have never once set a goal or a dream for myself and not ascertained that goal or that dream. I've stayed in $500,000 condos on Galveston Island. I've stayed in $500,000 places in Houston, Texas. I've lived in multi-million-dollar homes on the side of mountains in Colorado. Nothing will stop me from getting what I want in this life. Nothing. And you parents, you know what I'm talking about. Because most of you were born in the same era as me, the 70s and 80s. We don't always have the best of anything. But we have what we want, right? We're content. We don't let no one tell us no. We don't let anyone put their foot on our head and say, nope, you're not going to do that. Let's get back to the basics. Stop doing for your grown-ass kids. Stop doing for your grown-ass kids and make your kids grow up. They can either man up, woman up, or let them fall. The greatest teacher in this world is failure. The greatest teacher in this world is failure. And the only way an ungrateful, spoiled rotten, ignorant brat can fail is if mom and dad will stop enabling them and allow them to fail. Allow them to fail. Eventually, they're going to realize to sit and dream about a nice brick home, they're not going to get it if they don't get off their ass and work for it. To dream about that dream job, is all it is a dream unless you get off your ass and work for it. Let them go and dream about that big, huge brick home. And you can go visit them every Sunday in their trailer that has duct tape holding the windows into the frame. And you can look at that 1999 Pontiac Bonneville sitting in the driveway while they're still inside looking at pictures online on their phone, of all places, right on their phone. Man, look at this Lamborghini. This is the car I'm going to drive one day. Not going to happen. Why? Because the mind is weak, but the want to is even weaker. Something happened in the late 1980s that told parents it's okay. Just let them grow up. Let them learn. Let them live. Let them learn from their mistakes. Get them a cell phone. We won't sit down and have conversation at the dinner table anymore. We won't have family time anymore. We'll just let cell phone and TV raise our kids. Many of you didn't have a choice. You had two parents that had to work. And that's okay. Just like yesterday, right? Some girls make mistakes and they get involved with the wrong guy. He's not honey material, nor is he definitely not father material. We all make mistakes. We're all damaged in some way, right? That's okay. Today is a new beginning for you. Today is a new way of viewing life. Today, I tell you, you no longer have the excuse to bail your child out when he or she is failing. Step back and watch them fall. Be there for them when they get back up. But step back and watch them fall. Allow them to fall. Allow them to fail. And you will teach your children the greatest lesson in life. If you want it, get off your ass and work for it. Get off your ass and work for it. 90s babies are born with that spoon in their mouth that says, oh, all I got to do is sit back and wait for it and someone's going to give it to me. Right? Kind of like that 60, 70-year relationship thing they always like and post on Facebook and copy. Oh, this is what I want. This is the type of relationship I want. And yet every day, behind their significant other's back, they're talking to other people online. On every form of social media that exists. Because part of that disconnect from real life, part of that disconnect, unfortunately, is a disconnect from humanism. From what life really is all about. Don't get angry at what I tell you tonight. Don't get angry. I want you to stop and think about it. I want you to pray about it. And I promise you, God's going to tell you what that man said is true. What that man said is true. Some of you needed to hear this. Some of you are angry because of you heard it. Some of you are like, oh my God, there it is. I didn't think about this. You have allowed your children from 1990 to present. They're victims of this. And they're going to stay victims. We have created a society of people, a whole generation of people who are not accountable for their actions, their words, or anything else. The truth is not important to this generation of people. This is the generation of people who will look you in your face and lie to you. Lie on you and not bat an eye. Parents, it's time to make a stand. It's time to say, no more will I enable my child to be a liar, a lazy ass, an ungrateful little shit that's destroying the fabric of our great nation, because I won't let them grow up, or I won't make them become an adult. Today is your day. It's your day to shine. And you can never again say, I didn't know. just like yesterday. You can never again say, I didn't know. You can never again say, I didn't know. Stop the madness. Stop the foolishness. Force your child to grow up and your child will love you for that. Take back your role as a parent in your child's life and hold them accountable. And if they choose to walk away out of anger, let them. Because I promise you, what you don't teach your children, life's going to teach them. And believe me, life uses a good switch. And it don't give a damn if you're black, white, skinny, rich, poor. It makes no difference whatsoever. It's going to put that switch across that ass, and life's going to teach them everything they need to know. And they're not going to run from life. They can run from you. They can run from friends. They can run from anything they want to. But they will not run away from life. Life will catch them and it will spank their ass. And when it spanks their ass, guess who they're going to come back to? You, Mom. You, Dad. Because you cared enough. And when life's done tearing that ass up, they're going to look back at you and say, wow, you actually cared. I see what you were wanting to accomplish now. Remember, your children love you. And they may go down paths and roads in their life that take them to this faraway place that you may think you've lost your child. Let me tell you something. You've not lost your child. What you've lost is your ability to fight. What you've lost is your focus. What you've lost, you can get back. Your child is always worth the fight. Remember, the way your child is acting today is because of the way society, a cell phone, and a television has raised them. You've done it unconsciously, right? Because you had to work a job, Daddy had to work a job, whatever the case may have been. So you couldn't both be there at all times. So inevitably, TV was there, cell phone was there. But I challenge you, don't break the trust that your children have. Trust, but follow up. The very thing I'm recording on today, every one of us have. But it's not always used for good purposes. You trust your children, you love your children, make sure your children are safe. Make sure what your children are looking at and doing on their phone is the right thing to do. It's the appropriate thing to do. That is the minimum that we can all do as parents with young kids. Tomorrow night, I want to cover a subject that's going to be very near and dear to my heart, and that is homosexuality. The world has changed drastically since I was 23 years old and decided to come out of the closet in the third largest city in America, Houston, Texas. I can remember when I first came out of the closet, it was scary. It was very scary. I'm in the third largest city in America, and we're still in a neighborhood, in an environment, in a world, in a city where people will literally kill you just because you're gay. They don't care about anything. They will kill you because you're gay. And today's gays and lesbians will never know the prices that were paid at Stonewall, and Houston, and Dallas, Fort Worth, San Diego, Los Angeles. They will never know the sacrifices and the fears that had to be overcome to get to a world and into a society today where gays are accepted as governors, mayors, politicians, business leaders, school teachers. But I'm tired of society looking down on us like we're the crapshoot of the earth. You show me a gay and a lesbian, and I'll show you a man and a woman who are great people, who are productive members of society, outstanding parents that work a hard job every day to pay for a house, to pay for a car, and to build their dream together with someone that they love. Tomorrow, we're going to expel a bunch of myths about the gay community. I hope you'll tune in. Also, I hope you'll follow me on my YouTube channel, Anthony Livingston. I'm going to post these videos on those YouTube channels as well as Facebook. I thank you for your support and your time of watching these videos. Remember, parents, don't get angry. Get right. If I hit on a nerve with you tonight, it's good. That means you heard something you needed to hear. Don't be angry. Turn that anger into, what can I do to fix what is wrong with my child? What can I do to fix the relationship between my child and I? Until next time, I love you guys and hope you have a great night.